Okay, so as we go into the third module of Pillar 1, we're going to shift our focus to figuring out exactly what a good qualified lead is. I mean, a really good lead is definitely worth your time and energy. So at one point early in my career, I worked as a sales associate, which is opposite of construction with a new home builder. And one of the biggest points that was driven home constantly to the sales organization was about qualified lead. So a lead is just a lead, but when we looked at qualified leads, we were looking for certain type of home buyers that fit our criteria. Mainly, could that person get qualified for financing? Everyone who stepped foot in the door was a lead, but it definitely was not a qualified lead until we were able to get them pre-qualified for financing. Once someone took the first step of letting us run their credit to see if they were even at a point credit-wise to see if they could even purchase, that's when we knew if we had a qualified lead or not. Well, the same thing applies while trying to sift through properties, because you're going to get all sorts of calls and leads. That's not the hard part. It's important, but the task is sifting through the tons of phone calls you're going to get and to try to determine if they're a qualified lead for you or not. Well, we knew first that number one, we're searching for a house that meets your specific buying criteria. So we want to set that. Two, we need to find a seller who is willing to sell below retail market value. From here, let's take a further look at three basic fundamentals of finding that deal as well. So let's look at the three basic fundamentals. Is it in your target neighborhood, close to you, your general vicinity? Is it in a condition that is acceptable, or is the property too far gone? Or is it a problem child, just meaning that the property has got way too many issues? But by now, you probably have a solid idea of what you're looking for in your area. And my thing is this: if I have an area I target in Houston, which to me is the suburban area of Humboldt, Tallahassee, Kingwood, I live out here in this area, so I try to keep my resources consolidated in this area. But there are some areas of Houston I won't pass up, or even outside, even if it's not in my general vicinity. Let's be honest, at the end of the day, we're growing a business, so we never know where the deals may possibly come from. If I run across a deal that may be in the Heights or another area, even Sugarland, Woodlands, Inner Loop, anything that I consider desirable, I got to entertain the deal, and I'm going to take each deal on a case-by-case basis. And that really comes up with me doing my comps on that property, looking at the ARV, that area, looking at what the property is going for, and really start then from there putting my construction hat on as far as like what all needs to be done to the property to get it to that next level. And that's some of the things that you're going to look for. But overall, we're still trying to stay in this I'm trying to stay in this basic rent area as far as where I'm going to be. But like I said, you never know where the deals are going to come from. The next question is it in an acceptable condition, or is the property too far gone? Yes, of course we are rehabbing properties, but at the end of the day, we might not want to buy someone else's headache depending on the situation, because the last thing you want to do is to get into a deal that you're estimating $25,000 of rehab costs, but once you get started, your budget is blown and you're completely upside down on that project. That'll leave a bad taste in your mouth about rehabbing properties, fixing and flipping properties for sure. In my case, I have a construction experience, so I walk all my projects before I purchase, and I have an idea of what the project is going to cost. But even before I get started, like in your case, you may not have as much experience, so I recommend a few things or a combination. First, get an inspector to walk the property with you. I'm going to actually do this in what I call my option period. I'm going to allot myself some time in this contract, during the contract period, even when I feel I may be getting a great deal. Why not? A few $100 is nothing in comparison to getting knee deep into a project that you can't back out of. Find yourself a GC, someone that you can have on your team that will walk the property with you. And we'll go over how to find a good GC. And if you have additional questions, you can always send me a message via our Facebook group so we can address these issues. A few things I'm looking for though, that the house, just trying to make sure about the potential major issues like any fire damage, severe weather damage. Do we have any foundation issues, asbestos, termite problems? Do we have any wiring issues? Is it lead paint? When was the house built? I start to look at these issues up front when I first visit the house, and it's going to give me a clear idea of if I need to act, what type of remodel job we're going to do on the project, or is it going to be something that we may have to actually knock down and just consider it for lot value itself? Or at the end of the day, are we going to wholesale it and just flip it off to another investor? Do I really want to take on that headache, doing the fix and flip? So these are a lot of questions that I ask myself as I'm walking the property, and that's where we went in as far as some of the upfront fundamentals, as far as knowing if it's a problem child and just major issues dealing with the property. So is the property a problem child? That's a great question. So one of the funniest movies and cartoons I remember watching was Dennis the Menace growing up. And if you remember Dennis the Menace, he was just that child that was always into something. And it seemed like without fail, he just completely found himself outside of the lines of what the norm was. So yeah, look at properties like children amongst their peers. The peers being the other homes in the area. Let's go a little deeper into what I mean as far as a problem child is concerned. So does the house have some unusual or crazy architecture, or there's some irregularities to the lot? Meaning is the property landlocked? Is the layout poorly done? For example, did Uncle Roscoe and Nephew Timmy come up with this crazy bright idea? Let's get a hammer, nails, some 2x4s, and just get to rocking on it. The house size, is it unusually big or too small in comparison to other houses in the area? The street itself, how's the flow of traffic? Is it something that's crazy? Crime, was there a major crime at the property? Or was there something violent that went on, some real First 48 type stuff? The majority of your end buyers are going to be looking for something they can consider as home. And so you ultimately want to find a product that you can fix up and add it back to the retail shelf. Get a mental visual of that. Where is the mainstream people buying? Another way to look at it is, how can you raise your batting average? My son plays a lot of baseball. Let's focus on base hits and not home runs. We want to build this thing conservatively, but keep it moving upward and to the right at the end of the day. Base hits, base hits, base hits. You can never go wrong with that. Okay, great. So now you have the property qualified and you think you have a good deal. And now you have to deal with the seller and figure out how motivated this seller is, right? Now you're at this point where you're truly going to be dealing with the psyche of the person who is selling the home. My best advice is just shut up and listen. Seriously, because you have to figure out the hot buttons of the seller and what truly makes them tick. At this point, it's not about being a salesperson. It's truly understanding what their motivation is and conveying you are the absolute solution to their problem. And the best way to do that is truly by listening and understanding how to approach that person. From there, once you know, you've got to use your instinct and let your personality radiate and be that real estate investor that you're setting out to be. But let's look at a few things that are true factors that a potential seller will be thinking about. These are what we call the hot buttons. Hot buttons of a seller are what life events could possibly trigger someone for a quick sale. Maybe they're relocating to another city for a job. Maybe they're physically unable to maintain the property. Maybe they're getting a divorce and just need to sell. How about if they're experiencing some financial hardship and they just can't afford the existing house payments anymore? Or maybe they face 2 mortgages, or maybe the seller absolutely must sell as is. Maybe he can't afford the house and must sell it as is, or maybe they're just too busy to fix the house and wants to sell it as is. What if the property is vacant? They just don't want to remotely manage and take care of the repairs and collect rent. Or what if they just can't rent it out and it becomes an issue where they've got vagrant people and all sorts of crazy people coming in and out of the house. So you never know what the issue is, but you have to get to the core of what that seller's hot buttons are. Okay, so wow, we've made it to the end of Pillar 1. And I'm excited for you because I believe that you're destined for greatness and on your way to taking steps towards your financial freedom. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's important you continue to add to your vision board and stay motivated. If you don't know what that vision board is, what the vision board is, it's what you desire. It's what you want. It's where you see yourself. And when you see yourself getting there, I like to call it speaking greatness into existence. I also want you to know that you should never feel bad about aspiring for better things for your life. No matter what someone else may tell you or how they make you feel, you do deserve the best. And through this vehicle of flipping homes, I believe you're going to be heading in the direction to achieving those goals. Thank you so much for hanging with me in the first pillar. But what I would like you to do is take time and soak this up. Before you start Pillar 2, give it a day and just take notes, write down your thoughts, because I know at this point you have a ton of ideas going through your mind, and that's great because that's what I'm here for, to help you get your creative juices going and giving you my experiences and expertise and whatever I can do to help you achieve success. It's success for me. I'll see you soon, so go ahead and I'll see you at the top. And remember, you're one flip away.